going to be great.
It's going to be awesome, and it's not an NBA season if there's not, drama surrounding the court. And, I want to start with this vaccine situation. As of now, 95% of the NBA is vaccinated according to the NBA. Unvaccinated players must face daily testing. In cities like New York and San Francisco, players on those teams who are unvaccinated will not be able to play in home games. Players like Kyrie Irving and Andrew Wiggins would be those who are currently unvaccinated and not be playing in home games. That was a talk a lot around media day, and I just want to get your perspective on this current situation with the vaccine mandate and players like Irving. Bradley Beal is another one who is not vaccinated. Andrew Wiggins still holding out, and this consequence they might have if they are not vaccinated.
See, quite frankly, I didn't see this issue coming necessarily after the NBA said that players who don't get the COVID vaccine are not going to be paid for the time they miss. I thought that would be a major incentive for these guys to go out and get the shot. Apparently, though, there are going to be some holdouts like Kyrie, like Andrew Wiggins, and I don't think anyone is prepared for how this is going to go or exactly knowledgeable about how this is going to go. Like, we could sit here and theorize what's going to happen with Kyrie and Wiggins. We don't have a clue. We can always theorize, though. I mean, his aunt went on with a Rolling Stone interview, Kyrie's aunt, and she said that, Kyrie's not the only one who hasn't gotten the vaccine yet. There's other guys who are holding out, and that she hopes those guys will help pave the way and make it so that it's not a mandate for him to play home games. And she also said something to the effect of, he's still going to be playing in the season on the road. You're just missing games at home. I don't know how I feel about that necessarily if I'm Brooklyn. The fact that one of your stars is going to be missing home games, one of your most marketable stars, I might add. At the end of the day, the NBA is still a business. If they want you to get the vaccine, there's something to be said about that. And especially with all the money involved, I'm not sure how this is going to go for Kyrie and for Andrew Wiggins for that matter. And going forward, maybe this is something that we're all going to have to get used to watching, is that these guys are going to miss home games and then play on the road. And I'm not sure how fans are going to react to that. There's just a lot of side effects that come with not getting the shot that I don't think anyone is necessarily prepared for.
Yeah, I think there's so many questions here. For example, let's say, Kyrie Irving does not get the vaccine shot. I mean, you have to scheme one way home and one way away. Like, you have to play with Kyrie on the road, and then without him, you have a totally different play philosophy. Maybe one night Harden's your point guard, another night Irving's your point guard, and it's going to switch around on a day-to-day basis. I just don't think that's healthy for any NBA team, and the same goes for Golden State. I think it's tougher for Brooklyn considering the player Kyrie Irving is versus Andrew Wiggins, who's more of a third or fourth option on that Warriors team. But I want to make a quick shout out. Ryan Gregware, he's our Yankees beat reporter, but he was on, One-on-One Nightly the other night, and he said it's never been about the on-court problems for the Nets. It's always been about the off-court stuff, and it's here once again. And I thought that was really interesting because Kyrie Irving, again, making noise off the court, he might be the reason why he's not playing home games with the Nets. And it's never been about the team on the court. We know how good Harden is. We know how good Durant is. We know how good Irving is. That team, when they're all together, is a contender. They're going to be in the finals. But it's about the stuff off the court that's preventing them from doing that. And this is just another one of those situations where you just got to nod your head, and we're going to see when we get closer to the season. Maybe they get some wiggle room with the mandate. I don't think that's going to happen. I think eventually Irving will come around and start playing home games because he will get vaccinated. But the fact we're having this discussion just, shed some light on the Nets' status, what they've been for the entire time those big three have been together. And just, it's going to be a question mark when we get closer to the season and Irving's not playing home games if that's the case.
Something that I've been thinking about with this, what happens if you get to the finals against a team like the Lakers?
And you're home in Brooklyn and Irving
doesn't
suddenly going to get a shot before. It's a great question.
Right. And if you have home court advantage, you could have a Game 7 situation.
You'd almost rather be on the road at that point.
Absolutely.
I feel like would you want Kyrie on the road or would you want the fans in Brooklyn? That's basically what the situation you're in.
So are you banking on the fact that the mandate is going to be loosened or completely taken away? I mean, it makes no sense to me because if you have a Game 7 and you're going up against an opponent like LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and those Los Angeles Lakers, you want Kyrie on the court. Regardless of the issues he might give you off the court, on the court, the guy can flat out ball. You want him there. I don't know how that's going to shape up for Brooklyn or how ownership's going to feel about that if that's the situation, in that you've put all these assets into getting guys like James Harden around Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, and then you make it to the finals. You do exactly what you have to do. Suddenly, not having Karis LeVert and Jared Allen makes sense because Kyrie, Harden, and Durant got you to the finals. Only problem is Kyrie's not there in Game 7 of the most important game of the season because he didn't get the vaccine. I don't know how ownership would react to that. I don't know how the fans would react to that. And quite frankly, I don't know how the media would react to that because already they're giving Kyrie a world of hurt based on his choices so far.
Yeah, it's a great point, and it's the other thing is that let's say you figure something out home. Let's say with how the set pieces work on the offense, or just how different players work with each other. You're going to a whole different system on the road if Kyrie's now suddenly there. There's just so many questions here, and it just makes the situation extremely interesting. Obviously this situation's only for players really in New York and San Francisco, like Kyrie Irving and Andrew Wiggins. But it really begs the question, what will happen if Kyrie remains unvaccinated and can't play home games?
I don't think anyone knows the answer to that yet. I think we're just going to have to wait and see. But based on his answers to the media so far, I don't think he's planning on getting vaccinated anytime soon. So it's going to be up to the NBA and potentially the Brooklyn Nets to come up with some sort of incentive to get him to do so. Because if Kyrie does get the vaccine, maybe some of the other holdouts get the vaccine as well. But that remains to be seen, obviously.
Yeah, I think we're both going to be watching it, and then obviously we'll continue to update on these shows and our podcast about the status of that and our thoughts. But